Alright, this is Eye of the Witch, episode 1. This is a show that came out 3 years after Astro Boy. First shoujo anime, technically. First magical girl anime, technically. Although not the first magical girl manga. And yes, let's just get into it.
Tom and Jerry.
No. That is Tamu and Jerry. Why they went with, like, Russian oompa music, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a Western-style witch.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, so...
Well, she is very much inspired by Bewitched.
Yeah.
And another magical girl live-action show from the 60s in America.
These are the outer limits.
Oh boy, this is pretty creepy.
It's very Genshin-y.
What it
Tonight
lacks in color,
on
it makes
Night
up
Gallery.
for,
Oh my goodness. Hi! Gee, I wonder if this is a metaphor for anything happening with actual Japanese kids in the late 60s.
Wow.
And to be clear, like, this is 2 years after the Olympics. Tokyo Olympics. So, all this stuff is new. To your point, very modern music.
Wait, there's an attendant at the escalator?
Of course.
Oh yeah, 60s. It's weird. So, girl on the right is like clearly out of like Sazai-san.
Yeah, it's a really interesting stylistic choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like comedy manga next to shoujo manga.
Which I'm guessing some of that is a choice of like the viewers won't know how to identify people, and
Right.
to give them like these
Right.
drastic differences to be like, oh yeah, horse face girl versus the other one. Oh, jeez.
This is the funny one.
And this is where they burn her at the stake.
Quick, let's run to the church and find a priest. Oh, here we go.
I will own your souls. You cannot escape.
Interestingly drawn train.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the mechanics. Look at modern industrialized Japan.
Forging ahead a future that we could never have dreamed of 20 years ago.
Work hard. Gigantor.
Door.
There's a spell for all this?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, that's the spell book for girls. I kid.
Oh.
I have no idea.
I just hope she's on the furniture spells and not destroy humankind.
And I mean, in fairness, they do take the time to actually animate everything being created. It's not just,
Yeah.
bing! And then the couch devours them.
Yes.
It's slowly draining away their life essence.
Yes, yeah. That's how magic
soft,
works.
Yeah, it makes me so sleepy. That's because it's eating your life essence. Oh.
Takes a lot of energy to make a house.
The horse face girl really reminds me of Gladys, the lady next door to Bewitched.
Yes.
Who's always like,
Ah, yeah.
you know? It's like,
Yeah,
aren't you afraid? This thing's popping out of nowhere. Oh, just shut up. It's fine.
yeah, very much so.
Galaxy Express.
Here it
What?
comes. Yeah. Oh no, that's just Dad.
Woody Woodpecker.
It's a dark
Just
night
actually
in a city that
the-
knows how to keep its secrets.
It's funny, interesting that the magic world is not just some like dimensional plane of this world. It's like in another galaxy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
damn. Yeah, let's just walk around the whole store.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Hi, Astro. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Mixed with Mickey Mouse for some reason.
So we have the annoying little brother.
Their Foley work is interesting,
Yes.
to say the least.
I'm gonna say it's Scooby-Doo, but I think Scooby-Doo is after this.
Yeah. I think Scooby-Doo was 69. 3 years later.
There you go.
Wow. Okay.
Magic's useful.
Good thing that safe was right in the middle of the shop.
Yeah.
It's convenient. Look in the box. Maybe they are.
Oh, wait, what?
Gojira!
Whoop.
Ah, jeez, this gag. The living.
That's an obedient thug.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thug you want.
Whoa.
Dynamite. Yes. Yeah.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine the next morning when the manager of the store opens it up and it's just like, oh, what the what?
What on earth?
Why are all the missiles and bombs that I had in stock all birds?
What happened to that dynamite?
It's a toy police car. And they're firing Snapcats?
Cannons?
All the toy tanks.
Honestly, I feel bad for them now. This is horrifying.
At some point, they're going to have a horrible mental breakdown. This is like beyond believable.
Probably had 3 heart attacks already.
That was fun. Yay.
Slightly tomboyish. Just slightly. Can't be too tomboyish. Just to give you an idea of how little budget they had, they have to spend like a minute and a half on footage from episode 2 just to pad out episode 1. But yes, and this is the reference to the other 60s magical live-action series.
I Dream of Jeannie?
Those I Dream of Jeannie, yep.
Magical Mambo?
Yep.
Maho no Mambo?
I gotta admit, this is a really fun song. Let's talk about this.
The word Ritalin came to mind.
Yeah, it's...
What, about her horse-faced friend? Come on.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of interesting things here. I mean, so how would you compare this to, how would you compare this to, say, Astro Boy?
Definitely in the same ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a lot more interior visuals that you get that you don't get quite as much from Astro Boy.
Yeah.
But they're not really much better. They're there. It's certainly the effort is made to it, but it's still the monochromatic element is obviously the nature of the thing it's like that. Mm-hmm. But it's very interesting. Like there is artwork behind it, like this piece that you've got with Horseface.
Yeah.
It's horrible that we just keep on calling her Horseface.
It's Yumine, maybe? I can't remember what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, it's Horseface forever.
But looking at the design of the trees in the background, it reminds me of some of was it Alice Davis that did some of the Small World designs? That's like that very 60s nouveau kind of look.
Reminds me a bit of like Charlie Brown Christmas too.
Right. Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a very clear 1960s aesthetic to it. Absolutely,
yeah, definitely. But I totally. I just wanted to point out, I think Astro Boy had a lot of just like gray backgrounds.
Yeah.
And we definitely see more. There are actual backgrounds all the time here.
Yeah. Well, I think a big part of this is just I'm going to state the obvious here. I'm going to be Madden for a moment.
Sure.
This is definitely the demographic switch in demographic from boy to girl. I mean, for girls anime, this is something that they would. The idea is that they thought that okay, this is what girls are going to pay attention to. This is what they're going to want to see. They're not going to want to see boring backgrounds and robots. They're going to want to see something pretty that's going on in the background.
Yep.
Characters that they identify with, things that are what they feel is important to the girls. And and it's just very much more lighthearted. There's not a whole lot of robot racism.
True.
Here it's just.
But
like,
what about the dynamite, Steve?
The
dynamite.
Racism against kids. Kidism.
But it's just one of those things where this is just supposed to be. This is not. I don't think there's any messages here. Per se, I think this is just here's the thing to appeal to the demographic because we're hitting all these other demographic for the boys. Why don't we do something with the girls? The music is upbeat. The backgrounds are unique. Even the character designs are not as simplistic as I mean, they're doing horse face.
highly
It's like-
stylized, but yeah.
Intentionally. And it's almost as they're like saying, see, this is the one girl you know in class. Here's the other girl you know in class. And then here's the new girl. Here's Sally.
Yeah, and radically different, even beyond just Horseface having Horseface, but just their hairstyle designs. I wonder if this is where you start getting. This is black and white, so we can't get an eye color and a hair color to give give a personality shortcut. I wonder if the hair. This is some of the early hairstyle indicates personality.
Yeah. It's also to be pointed out they all have technically different hair colors. So Sally is obviously a little more blonde. The other girls are. We had a shot here. So slightly lighter on non-Horseface.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Girl.
It should also be pointed out, all completely Western style clothes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing traditional Japanese about this whatsoever. The 8-year-old girls watching this, they want modern Western style, storytelling.
Right.
So.
And to the modern Western style question is Astro Boy. Arguably, you can merchandise Astro Boy as a toy to fight with or against other robot toys. How is this marketing what to a girl audience?
I can actually help answer that. One of the things, so the first Astro Boy merchandise product was stickers.
Okay.
It's the first thing they ever did in Astro Boy. And suddenly, every kid had Astro Boy stickers on everything they owned. They'd stick them on their sneakers, and they'd stick them on their lunchboxes or whatever, all that kind of stuff. And that, interestingly, kind of became the model, that we don't care so much about making, representative figurine toys necessarily. We want this to become kind of ubiquitous in their lives. So for Sally, you could have stickers, you could have notebooks, you could have pencils, whatever. As long as it just has the face or the logo on it, that's all they cared about.
Which actually, the super bonus to that would be you also could then sell it as a color sticker.
Yes, exactly.
So now you can add, we could guess what Sally's hair color is. If they say it at some point, be like, oh, she's got such beautiful blonde hair. Like we would know. But up until that point, you could sell Sally with any kind of hair color you like. It's a color sticker. You could do, it's like that. Okay, yeah, I can see. I see where the merchandising comes in.
Yep.
So yeah. And also, Sally the Witch brand cigarettes was a big sponsor.
Of course, yes, absolutely. Got to have those.
Is that a Marlboro? No, I prefer Sally the Witch brand. It tastes magical.
Unfiltered.
Yes. Like Sally herself.
Tastes delicious.
So to that point, I mean, this is a very lighthearted, very upbeat episode. It's Sally coming to the human world, having various problems fitting in, and doing that. You can draw some parallels to being the new kid in school, except you have magical powers that can create houses out of nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her magical world is she has Cub, who is her, arguable little brother when he's a servant to the magical king. You see Dad, Mom, Sally, and servant. Those are the 4 beings in the magical world. Sally is remarkably, robustly upbeat for a child that does not apparently have a lot of social skills at all. I mean, she's very functional.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's more to the world than what we're seeing in episode 1, in fairness. So
we can't afford to make more characters.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all we can do right now.
Probably that. Or the author didn't think of it in episode 1. Like, okay, we got to have a father and mother. I wonder if it wasn't one of the... Ooh, I wonder if they didn't introduce the father because at first you only see the mother. And so there's a question of, is she from a single family home? We can't have that.
Yeah, never.
My goodness. Gotta introduce the father. But yeah.
1960s? No, there's always mothers and fathers.
Right, in separate beds. So yeah.
So we've got Dad with the Wolverine hairdo.
Yeah, absolutely. Very important.
But now, is he going to be like the bad guy? And I put that in quotations because obviously he's not evil, right?
Right.
You know, but is he just the bad guy because he doesn't want Sally to have fun or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever it is? I
Probably.
wonder.
Yeah.
Well, saying that she's only learned half of her magic, I'm going to guess they're going to keep spinning that forward as like he is this way because he's so concerned. If she's not fully prepared, she might be in danger in the human world.
I mean,
I guess.
yeah, I suspect they're running the standard Japanese father archetype of, harsh disciplinarian, doesn't really pay much attention, to things. Just, you should be studying more. But who knows?
You got an A. Why did you not get an A plus?
Yeah, exactly.
You're a disappointment.
So you got that. You've got Sally making her friends, which is cute. And then you've got in fairness, pretty remarkable kind of climax here, where Sally takes on the burglars and wins.
Yep.
To have a preteen girl have this much agency in 1966 is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and she's not by any means a shrinking violet.
No.
Oh no! Oh, scary! No, she's doing her thing. The other girls are out of the picture, so they're not offering any kind of support when they're tied up.
Yeah.
But Sally's by herself, facing two adult people. Cub's there with her, yes, but she is fully vested in her ability. She's not, worried that she only knows half the magic spells. No, she is absolutely handling this.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. Okay.
Well, back in her dimension and in a galaxy far, far away, she just murders people. So, she has no
every day.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Every day.
Well, it's just,
But
it's so
what's
interesting, 1960s, to have an empowered adolescent confronting. So,
Yeah.
first of all, disobeying parental authority.
Even pre-adolescent.
That-
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also confronting and opposing
Yeah.
two other adults. Like, wow.
Yeah. I mean,
In 1960s Japan. Wow. Okay.
Presumably, even the police aren't noticing this or responding to this crisis.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, she is more powerful than authority figures.
Yeah. And she's a pre-adolescent girl.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. And there's no pullback on that. There's no oh, but something else happened. No, she resolves it. She ties them up. She leaves them for the police to find. She rescues her friend and goes away. It's kind of remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, the only sort of it's not even vacillation on her part. It's the interesting inner conflict with Cub, where here comes the missile. Turn the missile into a bird.
Oh, yeah.
Nope, turn the bird into a missile. Nope, turn the missile into a bird again. Where it's like she's acknowledging that they tried to hurt Cub with the explosives, but she's not willing to really deliver back that same kind of hurt. So she keeps trying to, change the form of the missile into a bird. And it's like,
Which is
okay.
That's actually a really good point, that she is showing a level of maturity of how to handle her powers and that sense of kind of how far we can go, that not just versus Cub, but also for the audience of
Right.
saying,
There's a limit.
there's a limit. Exactly. Yeah.
So we're going to put a limitation on what kind of power that she has, and saying that self-imposed, and we're not going to go there. We're just going to be do this kind of thing. But it's just I'm watching this and I'm like it's just so saccharine, and it's so just really upbeat and everything. And I'm kind of wondering, and she's not really going all that out to hide her magical abilities. But it's apparently very important for the series that the girls, the new friends, not know that she has magic, because remember, as she's doing this, they're hooded. at this point.
Yeah.
So they don't know what's going on.
Well, like the house. Can you guys wait
Yeah.
out here while I freshen up the house? And they're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yep.
magic, magic, magic.
Yeah. Well, remember, Steve, the nail that sticks up will be hammered back down.
That's true.
So I guess.
But you know
yeah.
what? But you know what? But she has the power to be the hammer, so she can do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She could be the biscuit hammer.
There we go. Hey,
That'd be-
there we are.
Hold on.
She's actually the agent of destruction for the Earth. So she's just playing.
Well, just wait till the last episode. We'll find out. Show takes a dark turn. Tomino came in to direct the final episode. It's a whole thing.
Kill them all! I like that their classroom is so Western to the point that it doesn't even have any kanji anywhere in it.
True. Yeah.
Where it's like, it couldn't have been more like Nebraska if it tried.
It's true.
It's like,
That's actually an
wow.
interesting point. I do see a Seifuku in the back right. But I think everyone else, is entirely Western clothes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Also, why is that girl wearing a Seifuku in an elementary school? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, everybody else is normally kind of...
I wonder if that's a thing.
Could be.
It's not that you couldn't wear a Seifuku, despite not going to schools. Maybe that was just kind of a thing. That was a kind of fashion you could wear. Who knows?
Maybe in 1960s, this is like sort of Taisho era baseball girls, where you're getting people wearing, uniforms, and some people just not wearing uniforms. Maybe this is a transitional period.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, certainly sailor uniforms would have been still somewhat a symbol of girl power, if you will, and girls' independence. So it could have been a thing there. I don't know, or it could just be a whatever. They're just throwing it in for fun.
Just rando background character.
Right.
I like drawing sailor uniforms.
I like train.
Also, end of Totoro. Anyone? Like last scene of Totoro.
Wow.
Don't know. Not saying that was a Sally the Witch reference, but just kind of interesting.
Easily could have been a Sally the Witch was an important element, a mile marker in the land of anime.
Yeah.
So.
And the funny thing is, now that I think about it, actually no. Totoro would have. Sally the Witch would have aired later than Totoro was set, because Totoro was set in the late 50s, I think. But not that far away from this era. Certainly.
We should now go into My Neighbor Totoro and see if there are any Sally the Witch references.
Yeah. See if there are any Sally the Witch references in there.
See a horse-faced girl walk by.
Wait a minute.
Mm.
So yeah, and then we were talking in the reaction how there's also a certain element of kid power in this, where the bad guys are defeated by toys, by symbols of childhood, and to this idea of power. And there is kind of a theme running through here around this idea of children kind of representing themselves, and kind of having a say for themselves. Sally rebelling against her parents and not wanting to study all the time, and then going off and kind of finding friends for herself, and that kind of independence. That is an interesting thing. It's certainly not something you see a lot in anime. This idea of kids going off and being kind of that disobedient, if you will.
Right.
Kind of
I mean,
interesting.
even Astro is his disconnection from his father, and then his connection to Professor Elephant.
Yeah.
It is sort of like a transference of his child connection.
Yeah.
So that the professor is now his new surrogate father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Astro does not disobey at any point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So Sally clearly disobeys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wonder if there's also some message in there that it's a really out there kind of idea, but the innocence of children defeating the avarice and badness of adults.
Mm-hmm.
Using toys and using this sort of innocence to combat against people who have lost that innocence and who are, who have reverted to their own selfish desires, and they're not going to be helpful. Horseface and her friend, they're responsible. They took the money to the store, they bought the toy, and they have to make sure that it's given as this gift for the girl who's going to be changing schools. They are responsible, and they are open, and they are connected. And here are these guys who are antisocial. They are doing something bad. They are taking for their own desires. And it's like, I think that's reading probably way the hell too much into this show. But that feels a little bit like that. It's like, okay.
Well, and in fairness, every kid's show has its premise, has its tone, has kind of its underlying message, the kind of story it's trying to tell. And I think this does have more of a story of independence, if you will, as opposed to a lot of other kids' shows, which is about random adventures, right?
Right.
I think that there is something to that, definitely. That's Sally the Witch, episode 1. Any final thoughts?
I thought it was fun. It was cute.
It's got a good beat, and I can dance to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
no offense to Astro Boy's music, but I prefer this music.
Yes. Yeah, the
magic mambo at the end.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. More magic mambo, please. So yeah, that
mambo
is
number 5.
Slightly different. Very, very modern. We weren't mentioning that the music, all that kind of stuff. Gosh. So yeah, that's Sally the Witch, episode 1. Interesting stuff.
Some kids' parents were driven mad by that song.
Oh gosh, I saw that up at the top, the little chalk drawing, and I immediately went to War in the Pocket. Oh.
Well, Steve, just go a little dark, why don't we?
Oh, and we're having a Carrie moment.
But turn it to boiling water. Now they're scalded. Sorry, all I can think of is, hey, it's Horseface. Ow. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. This was a different time. Oh, little darlings.
I'm sorry, I had to go out and collect the Vic.
And if you don't behave, she's a witch and she'll swallow your soul. She's dead. Go ahead and say it.
Oh, God.
I knew where that was going to go. Yeah. This is all going to turn out to be a lie. That mom is somewhere else doing something. Their dad's just a normal dude.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mikey will eat it. He'll eat
Exactly.
anything.
Mikey will eat anything.
Define
no.
that.
Yeah. Although, in fairness, they thought she was trying to poison them. Odorless, tasteless, dissolves completely in any liquid. She's just pretending to drink it. Oh, no, she did.
She's a mutant.
Wow. There's enough horse tranquilizer in that to kill an elephant. The bird, look out, he's going to pop your bubble. Oh, they didn't survive the fall. Now they're in heaven. What the? Oh, her brother. Did she just shoot bubbles out her nose?
Her mouth.
Okay, thank goodness. Jeez.
All right, little Xeon. Okay. Little zombie there.
Beat him up. Man, a kid's got an appetite for somebody's only 2 feet tall.
God, they look like they're just about to do cocaine or something.
Wow, that's very Tom and Jerry. If he says you're kind of attractive and I think we can make a deal,
Yeah, right.
well, by the 60s, wouldn't they have gotten a fair amount of housing rebuilt after the war? Maybe this is speaking to the first decade after the war where housing was at short supply or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's sort of
Capped him. They capped him. Jesus.
Yeah. And now he's going to open up unholy magic on them. I'd say the one with the weird shirt. Just a guess. It makes me think of Kamichu. What you were talking about, how the team was doing something with a show about their childhood, and no cell phones and none of that stuff because it spoke to how they grew up in school. So maybe that's some part of this that the animators are sort of harkening back to a time when housing was short in supply and you had abusive landlord kind of stuff. I don't know. Whoa.
A bomb.
Wow.
My hand!
Meanwhile, he was carrying a bunch of their stuff. They just blew up their own stuff. For Christ's sake? What? That he just said for Christ's sake. Like, true. Yes, true. Thank you. Oh, like, wow. Yeah. Again, interesting. Children disobeying adults. And Sally helping to foster that. Like, wow.
I don't even know. We'll just sell this stuff. It's all fun and games until someone dies a fiery death.
I was gonna say, Truck Kun's gonna run somebody over in that house that's walking across the street there.
But in the meanwhile, they're all gonna be like, bleh.
Do you think she's qualified to interpret contract? Like, whoa. Wow. Fish. And fish.
So this is episode 2 of Sally the Witch. Yeah, this is an interesting episode. We had a lot happen here, and it continues this trend of really Sally talking back to authority figures, which I thought was really interesting. What were you guys' thoughts?
Indeed, I think it's an interesting statement on its time to have kids addressing adults in a not deferential manner, to approach them and to oppose them and to actively oppose them.
Yeah.
It's really surprising for episode 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that took me for a loop was that whole point of just when you come in and the kids are just they're playing cowboys and Indians and throwing stuff around. They're wrecking the place. And it's almost like they got it by rote. They're just like, oh, sis is coming, we better clean up. And you notice how they just clean everything up or put the vase back together with no super glue.
Yeah.
So like, they're probably like, we're just going to break it tomorrow. So we'll just, put it together. And we'll just put it in there. And then, sis comes in and then, they view Sally as the enemy, as the authority. And so there's this rebellion against authority. Meanwhile, you have the sis who's just like, I'm trying so hard not to call her horseface, but I just can't help it.
Yo-chan.
What's it? Yeah.
I think it's Yo-chan.
Yo-chan. And that she's being responsible trying to get this money, but we don't. But you know what's interesting is that we don't know what the money's for at first.
True.
She seems to know what it is.
Yeah.
Because the woman is reminding her. She goes, "Oh yes, thank you for reminding me." And she's going off to get the thing, but we don't realize what the money is for, and we're having this weird, just kind of interaction with fishbone cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, and just goes, and this episode just kind of goes in that vein for a while until suddenly we're starting to talk about rental contracts.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this whole thing where the landlord shows up and explains that he needs the rent money, which is clearly what Yo-chan went off for, and he's going to evict them without it, and so little rebellion ensues. Kind of surprisingly.
Yeah. Versus you would think that they would be like, oh, landlord, thank you very much. We'll let our father know. We'll, do whatever you say.
What can we do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, and, no crying. no helplessness,
No.
no wailing, no, you can't throw us out. No, it's angry opposition.
Yeah.
Very angry opposition. I was actually kind of expecting a little middle finger at one point, or or something like that.
Yeah, I kind of expected him to get bitten.
Yeah.
Bite him in the
Exactly.
leg. Be like, oh, here we go.
But no, instead, like they decide to fight back, and of course we have some fun business of them swapping out the furniture. But then like Sally gets involved, which kind of surprises me. I'm not able to get the actual frames here because things are getting a little weird. But like she wants them to deal with it and to stay strong in the face of adult opposition. Which is again pretty transgressive for the time. Pretty remarkable.
And she clearly has the. I mean, we know she and Cub both clearly have the power to affect the entire outcome of this.
Yeah.
She could blink Mr. Landlord, 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
She could trap them all in the cab of the truck and then put the truck on top of a house somewhere else in the city. Clearly, that they have the power to do so. But it really does feel like that's not the point here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sally is the everyman viewer of this.
Yeah.
She's interacting with it. She has some impact on it, but she's our like stead in this experience. And this is unfolding before her, and we're getting to watch this without her using her ultimate powers.
What's also interesting,
and it's
and we were talking about this during while we were watching it, that this feels very much like the kind of things that was probably being dealt with by the adults making Sally the Witch, 10, 15 years earlier, where you had housing crisis and all that kind of stuff going on, and sort of latchkey kids, all that kind of thing, which I'm sure was a thing in the 60s, but much more in the 50s. And so it's also interesting, like to your point, that Sally's choice here is to show us real people dealing with the situation by resisting.
Right.
You don't solve the problem through magic.
Well, exactly, and she kind of there's this understanding as you're watching this that it's like the lesson. The lesson is that if you have the problem, you're going to have to deal with the problem. It's just not going to be, no pun intended, magically whisked away. She does stuff, and even Cub does stuff to a certain point, and to help out a little bit. But it's really the 3 little boys who are just leading the charge on this and going up against this, and and then of course as kind of watching this, it's like I'm like, these are very adult issues.
Yeah.
And would Western kids really react to this kind of storyline? So it kind of just speaks culturally, about things. Like the other thing that you don't really see in Western cartoons is, you might have the absence of the mother, and somewhere along the line you would have in some roundabout way maybe that you find that the mother has passed on, or some gentle way of saying dead.
Yeah.
We're watching this earlier, and we were and John's joking around, going, "Oh yeah, my mother's dead," and then like literally, and the next line out of one of the kids' mouths is, like, "Oh, she's dead." It's just like, and we're all like waiting for the punchline, and there is no punchline because she's dead, and that's just outright. It's not even coyly said. It's not even roundabout, what are gentle or anything. They're just, she's dead. And they have, and they as children have already moved on from that, and they're now dealing with the thing in front of them. And Sally is trying to say, okay, well, this is your problem. I can help you out a little bit, but for the future of the revolution, we need you to be able to make the bombs on your own.
Fight your own battles.
Here you go. But it's just amazing how, like, again, in these, not necessarily something you get in Western cartoons of, in Western cartoons, it's like the kids are just like, oh no, the contract, vague notion of what this is. They're trying to barrack lawyer their way out of this. You know, I mean, they're literally like talking contract. Is that what it says? Does that mean what it means? And these are
Yes, Sally,
things.
read the contract,
Yeah,
John.
read-
Like, what?
What? Yeah.
Really? That's some
So-
qualification for a school kid like that. Yeah, pull up a contract for real estate and read that over. And to the point that Brent had made, that there is a lot to be said for the animators and their experience that they bring in, where post-war there would have been a lot of parents that hadn't come home.
Yeah.
So that this would be something that would be relevant to a lot of people because, you know, if you say, oh, well, but you're not aiming for kids in the 60s, you're not aiming for kids who would have known that. Yeah, but they would have also been the children of the children whose parents didn't come home, who died in firebombing, who died in combat or something.
Exactly.
Their parents
There
would have
is-
been talking about
that.
it.
That
Yeah.
Right.
right. That's a generation where the generation would have been the newer generation would have heard the stories of.
Yeah.
Well, Uncle so and so, if he had been alive, he would have done blah 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 blah, or he did these things.
Yeah.
And there would have been a lot of people talking
Yeah.
about in that fashion.
Yeah.
So
Your
this-
aunt, she made great cakes and she was wonderful, but, you know, she passed away in the war.
More.
It's like,
yeah.
You know, it's interesting talking about this sort of revolutionary spirit because what's fascinating is like you think timeline wise, you know, Sally would end up being in like the student revolutions of the 69 and 70s, right? Like time wise, if anyone's seen From Up on Poppy Hill, it's set around the same time as Sally the Witch, and you see a similar kind of thing of children being willing to address authority and being willing to talk back to authority to an extent, and that is very much leading up to those events. So there's an interesting historical parallel where, again, obviously that's, you know, literally in the future for these people, but that may have been in the zeitgeist of kids kind of feeling their oats a bit more.
well, I think certainly, too, by the time it boiled up in the 60s into the 70s, by the time it hit boiling point, it had not just suddenly been a flash
True.
boil.
Right.
It had been building. So I could see if you know, again, you look back at the people who are making this and their prior experiences, how that, you know, feeds into the subject matter of the show. And then you look at them kind of dealing with that, like, you know, if you're going to fight back against the man who's trying to take your house, you know, boy, you know, we never had that kind of authority. We never could do that kind of thing. And, you know, it's like these things are on the horizon, and they obviously have been a low simmer until they boiled up. So it's like I could see where that would be a little bit of like, I wish I had been that you know, self-empowered to confront authority and to speak my mind and not just obediently do what I was told.
It's funny.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and just keep in mind that, you know, as we're talking about this rebellion, the reason why we're finding this, for those of you watching, the reason why we're finding this amazing is because this really is a culture where authority is stratified.
Absolutely.
You know, it's you know, it's very much you respect this guy because this guy respects that guy because this guy, that's what you do. You know, an adult is an adult. You don't disrespect an adult. You don't respect your superior. You don't do these things. You don't. There's you know, I watched the entire point of a samurai movie that I watched recently, Orochi. It all begins because the guy just simply refused to drink from his superior. And everything, his entire life went downhill just because he said no to his superior. And, you know, so when you see something like this in that kind of culture, it really says something. You know, obviously a statement is being made here. And, you know, it's not so much that we're indoctrinating kids to, you know, meet in back rooms and smoke cigarettes and go la viva la revolution. But, you know, it's definitely setting the stage for like, you know, you can do something. You can say something. And you know, and if I were an adult, a Japanese adult, and you know, suddenly I was realizing what my kids were watching, you know, I jump in one of two directions. Like, stick it to the man, or oh God, no, like, you know. So it's very interesting to have this kind of this like thing, and it's a kids show. I mean, it is
Yeah,
a kid show,
absolutely.
but you're dealing with these topics inside of it,
Yeah.
and that's why I say sometimes I feel like we've only watched 2 episodes, but it feels like this entire time watching it, we're just kind of like watching the indoctrination into the revolution. Here, welcome to the revolution. Here we go. You know, it's just like here it is. But
it certainly begs the question. It's like
was this done on purpose?
you're framing this in the landlord guy he's not the wicked evil guy, but he's a bad guy.
Yeah,
He's not a
right,
good dude.
yeah.
So I can
Donut's going
see
wrong.
I can see where the very obvious attempt to liberate kids to oppose adults is framed in a good bad way to try and kind of make sure if you're going to try and get the train off the tracks, you're going to at least have to give it a direction off those tracks. And it's like, okay, oppose something that is unjust
Right.
and is to the good of your family, of whatever social positive. So this isn't just absolute chaos, anarchy, screw any authority.
Yeah.
So
Nihilism, yeah.
it's very interesting. I can't wait to see more of this. To see you have to keep this direction going. If you're going to unleash this, and you're going to not end up with parents screaming at you, I can see where you're going to have to keep directing this. You can be oppositional, but it has to be for the good.
Well, and
Right,
it should also be pointed out, like, this does not get resolved by the boys or by Sally. It gets resolved by Yo-chan coming home with the money.
Yeah.
Right, and giving him the money, and then there's the back and forth about the contract, and we're going to change the contract, and so forth and so on. But ultimately, it is still very much, the real world dealing with real world problems.
Yeah.
Got to have the money.
It's all about the monies.
All about the moral.
Where's the money?
Exactly.
So yeah, but it is interesting. Like there's definitely that aspect there. Amidst all of the cake jokes. The cat humor.
All the fish cake.
Fish cake. Yeah.
Fish cake.
Yeah. So yeah, that's episode 2. Any final thoughts?
Viva la revolution!
It's got surprisingly more going on when you put more of the cultural context into it. I think watching it solo, some of it might occur to me.
Yeah, it
But
did not for me.
Definitely
Yeah.
watching it, as a trio has really helped dig that depth up and be like, wow, it's no, that's just pretty amazing.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Cool. We'll be back with episode 3.
国からやってきたちょっとジャムな女の子
Hey!
サリーサリー
Yeah.
Hey! Do you like that image? The stars turning into the kids.
Yep. Naked space babies?
No, not here.
Idion for children.
For kids.
You want to deal with dad? Oh, let's deal with dad. Oh my god, damn it.
Wait, Christmas episode.
Oh yeah, that's Santa.
Was there just a homeless person that
Yes, there was. Followed by a cop. So now we know where Sally the Witch is based.
Okay. Turkey shop.
Notice how they're not showing a decap. Oh no, they just did.
Man, he's right out of like a Western cartoon. And again, like they have there's no concept of Santa Claus being a real person. So like there's no, Porco Rosso? My mother is dead.
If she says her dad's dead or left them or something like that, we'll see.
Or be like gremlins. Well, our father disappeared at Christmas one year. And there was this horrible smell from the chimney.
He went out to get a pack of cigarettes and he didn't come back.
Aw.
Wow, are we just like doing this? Sick parents, we have no money. What? Poverty
Very
sure
sure
is
is harsh.
Oh god.
Would you scratch off the shiny veneer. Gee, Sally, what are you doing to us?
Sally's keeping it real.
Yeah, no shit. Okay, now we're addressing the Western holiday part. Okay.
Perfect. Great. Christmas bonsai.
That is the oddest nativity I've ever seen.
Not very accurate. So to be clear, Cub can create life.
Oh.
Whoa. Okay.
There we go.
Oh my God.
I'll just blink him out of existence.
There we are. If only we could do that. A big sled.
Well, we're giving triplets tools.
Yeah, this is a great idea.
Tools. I'm thinking Hayao Miyazaki will be proud.
Definitely.
Just give them chainsaws, they'll be fine.
8 weeks later, they have the battleship Yamato. I wonder if this is another one of those experiences of like, back when things were bad, we wished we had, the ability to have so much cake and so much food and everything else.
Ah, cute.
And summoning circle active and demon summoned. Oh, hey, hooray. Again, here are all these children. There's not an adult anywhere in the world.
Nope.
They've organized dinner. They've set up a Christmas party. All this stuff independently.
And they all know the words to Silent Night by heart.
Yeah.
But where's the Kentucky Fried Chicken?
True.
Come on now.
Hey, this is just stage one of the adoption of Western holidays.
Ah, yes.
Thanks to exposure through occupation. Kentucky Fried Chicken is still yet to come.
Kentucky Fried Chicken is still a gleam in the Colonel's eye.
Is Cub trying to control the weather?
Yes, he is.
Controlling the weather.
Accurate weather control doesn't come until you're 11.
And this was Christmas in July. It's not actually supposed to snow. Oh, you killed all the farm crops. What have you done?
It's not a Christmas story without the danger of imminent death.
Especially considering the kid's got magic. He could fly.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, Mariko-chan, there is a Santa Claus.
Now they're going to kill you. Oh, no!
Jingle Bells, 1966, Japan.
Yep.
This reminds me of all those Toys Come to Life, like Fleischer cartoons
Right.
and so
Yeah.
forth. So they're probably recreating that a bit.
They're teaching the kids how to play. No, they don't know the song. They're teaching the kids how to. No, literally, they're teaching the kids who are watching this
Yep.
to sing the song. That's fantastic, actually.
Wow. That's quite a sled.
Yeah. No one questions the reindeer.
Nope, not at all.
All right, so we just finished watching episode 3 of Sally the Witch, the Christmas episode, which was definitely a surprise for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For episode 3.
It's a complete different takeaway from something like Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas thing special. But it's refreshing. I gotta admit, it's a little bit refreshing, and it's a different take on this, even though it does get into the magic of Santa Claus a little bit. But there's a lot of stuff that's going on here that's just kind of like you would not normally see in a Western cartoon, where here Santa, it's pretty much, even though the little girl believes in Santa and believes that Santa Claus is real, whatever. Everything else that's going on around them, like the older kids and the adults and everybody, really knows what this is about. It's a commercial holiday, and even the Santa here is like, he's like, the toys are great and the turkeys
cake's
are
delicious.
great,
Believe me.
the cake's delicious. Trust me, there's no fish bones in this one. And
Minimal sawdust.
but it's like great, great sales going on, great sales. But that's there's not a whole lot of, this is not Hallmark.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, this is a full-on Christmas episode. Like, the whole thing through, it's not just, like, I'm so used to anime where, an episode will be set around Christmas and there'll be, like, Christmas things. But it's another episode, like, no, this feels like a Christmas special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's very interesting how Sally comes in with Cub and is trying to ask people what is Christmas.
Yeah.
And Nobody knows. It's like the police officer
this.
can't answer it. The guy who's selling turkeys is selling turkeys. So it's like, it's kind of interesting that the commercial holiday aspect of it. It's like they're aware that it's a time to sell things, but they're not aware of what the tradition is behind Christmas.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like this is just again, it sort of highlights that this is a holiday that's sort of plopped down in the middle of a completely different culture.
Well, it would be like, a kid going up to a policeman and saying, "Sir, what is St. Patrick's Day about?"
Yeah, right.
Well,
it's about getting drunk. No. It's about leprechauns. Yeah, getting drunk. No.
Or going to like your local police precinct to be like, "What's the Oban Festival?" And they'd be like, "Oh, what? What are you talking about? It's a festival of some sort. Do things like." That's the same kind of answer the cops try to give.
Yeah. Well, and later on, I had to laugh when Sally's preparing for this, and she has this line. I'll see if I can find it. I mean, it's going to be tough for me to. There we go. Even though humans don't have magic, they sure think up some fun things to do. And so Christmas was just an idea someone had once.
Yeah.
It's like, a little more complex than that, but yeah, it's just festive. Which I think does speak to, and speaking to the other stuff, I think a lot of this episode speaks to Japan, kind of adopting to your point, like a festival and its trappings. The underlying message really isn't relevant, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's not really an element of it. It's just today when you do these things, why not?
Right.
Yeah.
Which I
Well,
can easily see with any other like a Matsuri.
Yeah, exactly.
Natsu
Right,
Matsuri
right.
kind of festival, where it's like, okay, Santa's kind of a mascot. At any given like summertime festival, you have vendor stalls, and they're selling food,
Yep.
and they're selling masks, and there's so really, if you sort of gut out the religious element of Christmas, it's like you have a
It's a whole festival. Yeah.
Yeah.
you have a mascot, you have food, and the mascot gives out these things like you could buy at a stall, like a mask or a pop gun or something else. It's like, okay, that part makes it easy to understand. It's just a different type of festival.
And to that point, if a kid says, what is Natsu Matsuri for? I don't know, kid.
Yeah.
It's just a summer festival party.
Some we do.
Yep.
And yeah, because there's no talk about the Edwardian tree, Christmas tree. There's no
Sure,
talk about what a Yule log is. There's nothing. There's none of these kinds of things, and they just really boil it down to the essentials. To your point, John, we got the things that we recognize. We got the festival part of it. We've got the gift part of it. We've got the food part of it. We got the mascot, and we're supposed to have a good time. And this is what's important. So then when they start singing Silent Night, we're all just like going,
Yeah.
what?
This is part of it too, I guess.
I guess because that kind of surprises me a little bit. But go ahead.
I was just going to say, and the point you guys made, which I think is accurate, I think there's an aspect to this of kind of a follow the bouncing ball, teaching the kids how to sing Silent Night, right? This is this is meant to be a fun thing for the kids to do who are watching the show, as opposed to, oh, well, you all know this, you probably all heard this on the radio, but, here's a chance to actually participate.
Well, one of the things we don't get to see in typical, at least anime format, is, if there's a festival of some sort, I know from having been to like a summer festival in the U.S. part where they had the festival tower, and somebody was beating on a taiko drum, and somebody was singing. Now, none of us gaijin knew what the hell they were singing, but you know what I mean? It's like, okay, so maybe that's more of a function of some festivals that are more religious festivals, that they sing more, so that this puts that other piece of the pie in there. So mascot, food, toys, singing, and everybody's happy.
Yeah.
So like, you know what I mean? So not only does it teach them a song, but maybe it's something akin to like, oh, you're used to this specific festival at this shrine, and they sing. So here you go.
Yeah,
This
good
is
point.
this festival. This is this festival song. Okay, cool.
Yep.
I can see that.
Something to do with
But
a sleeping Christ. I don't know.
Yeah, they're going to talk about that. Well, that thing. Okay, whatever.
You'll learn about when you
You
go
know,
to
but-
Catholic school in high school. You know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, on the Christmas tree there was a little church.
It's
There's a little
true.
ornament of a
Yeah.
little church.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting because obviously this comes out of the occupation. This comes out. This
Sure.
is American soldiers celebrating this thing and doing this thing. They're probably, I think what I would find interesting is like finding a narrative, a historical narrative somewhere of a soldier saying, well, we went into the town on Christmas Eve to do the Christmas things, to find the Christmas things, but there's no Christmas things, so we had to tell them about Christmas and what is Christmas, and try to explain it, and then to have an entire culture just go, oh, okay, well, this is not unlike
Yeah.
our festivals, so we can kind of adapt this and make money off you.
Well, that's the other interesting thing that you guys were pointing out, that of how just completely commercialized even this representation of Christmas is at this point. It's an opportunity to buy things, which is something we've been complaining about for a long time over here in the West. But it's just nakedly on display here, and obviously there's not the religious tradition in Japan, but just having that be very much on the forefront of this anime for kids, I think is interesting.
Yeah. When the revolution comes, they'll be revolting against the parents and Santa Claus. On
Yes,
December.
commercialism, capitalism.
Santa Claus is an adult. He must go down.
Exactly. Never trust anyone over 30.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting episode, almost like a primer. Where
Right.
it's like, here you go. Here's some basic elements to digest.
Yeah.
Don't really get too involved in it, but you know what I mean. That way, when you go to school and people are talking about Christmas, you'll be like, oh yeah, that Christmas thing, yeah.
How
Yeah,
cute.
we
I know
do,
about
we
that.
do that in our house. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Did you see Sally too? Yeah, I did. Cool. Now we know the whole thing. Good.
Yeah, and I mean, legitimately, it is a very sweet little story of a little girl who doesn't have enough money. Well, let's talk about that for a second.
Oh God.
Yeah.
When you have the reveal, yeah, even though Christmas, some kids are still out there crying. Thank you, Sally the Witch.
Thank you, Yo-chan, for stating it like nobody else could.
Oh, I heard her father's in the hospital and they can't afford things and it's awful. She literally says it's awful to live in poverty. I'm like oh my God. He must not have any,
money. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Let's see if we can.
Meanwhile, here I am with my my ermine
Yeah.
Yeah.
and my lovely kid
Yeah.
leather gloves. Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
There we go.
Poverty
Sure is harsh.
And in fairness, all three girls are sitting on a park bench, sad, right? Like they're not just
They're
just
not fun. Yeah.
making fun of it or anything, yeah. But it is just kind of bald there of gosh, and getting back to our earlier points, this is the era of the universal middle class, supposedly. This is the era where Japan is in front of we've had the Tokyo Olympics 2 years ago. All of these things, Japan is modernizing everything. Well, it's not quite universal.
Well, and think too, Yo-chan Yo-chan is the
Yeah.
one saying this.
Yeah,
Right.
true.
Poverty sure is harsh. Episode 2?
Yeah.
Y'all were about to lose your house because your dad didn't make the payment on time. Mm-hmm. That's not telling me that you guys are flush.
Yep,
That's telling me that, you guys also have some money problems as well.
true.
It's just like, wow. So is Yo-chan saying this in a
sympathy.
oh how
Knowingly.
Mm.
sad,
Yeah.
or I know what it's like, and I'm telling you to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Poverty sure is harsh. Like, looking at it,
Yep.
that's kind of what it is.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's heavy, dude. kids show. That's heavy.
And the fact that, again, what do we do? We don't go to the adults. We don't ask mommy for money. We go and we buy her presents. We take care of her. We do something on our own. There are no adults in sight.
No, I mean, Santa Claus was the closest to like an adult to the little girl. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like that had some kind of like talking to her at least, but we've never seen the little girl's mom. We've never seen the little girl's dad. We don't even get the little girl running home and saying, "I met some friends. Can I go spend Christmas with?" No, nothing.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
But we did get a homeless man at the very beginning being trailed by a cop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That really leapt out to me because there's this sort of cold open showing all this stuff. Let's see if we can find the shot. So there's a rather nice shot actually, and I do want to point out the complexity of doing a like 3/4 angle shot of a street, and having to draw these characters going up and down this street, not
in motion,
not non-trivial. And yeah, there's this homeless guy walking along with
he's very much aware of that cop.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's pretty clear.
Yeah. Vagrants are not welcome.
No. Again, pretty remarkable for a show like this.
Yeah.
So, Sally the Witch, the transgressive revolutionary anime of 1966.
The unexpectedly transgressive revolutionary anime. It's just, I can't envision, but I imagine it would be quite the time if we could survive 50 more years into anime and have somebody looking at Cardcaptor Sakura or one of the Precure things be like, this is the seminal work on like the discussion of the bourgeois revolution against mainstream capitalism. But like, what?
And meanwhile, we're old and going, Beyblade was a card game.
No, Beyblade was definitely a structurally complex discussion of the mechanization of society. What
are you talking about?
Yeah. But you know what I mean?
Episode 235.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that will be so interesting to see because we're getting a lot out of these 3 episodes of the show from 1966. So somebody in our spot, all that decades in the future, it will be so interesting to see what from our time will they pick apart and say, you know what, this is the people who did this, the illustrators who did it, the production teams, they're addressing issues that occurred in this time period, and this is how this fleshes out in what now we're looking at a show being like, the One Piece, it's up to so many episodes and stuff, and it just keeps going on. That somebody will digest that and be like, oh no, this you can see these broader social trends that track through the 1,000 episodes, or by that point, 25,000 episodes.
It wasn't at all about the merch. No.
It was broader social trends and really pithy arguments about what it is to be human. What?
Yeah, and. In fact, to that point, it is interesting going back to a show that is so early on that there's no magic wand, there's no magic compact, there's no direct merchandising in the show, which I think does kind of free it up a little bit more to tell a variety of stories as opposed to having to shoehorn that in every time.
Yeah. Well, you're also at the very start of tropiness.
Yeah,
true. You don't have any tropes that you can play with.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't think we've seen so far. Have we seen anybody with a sweat drop or anybody with a little angry plus mark?
Nope.
Or the little girl's crying.
Right.
She's really crying. It's not just like that, little tear shows up stuck on the side of her face to show she's sad. She's genuinely crying.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow. We're at that moment where we haven't gotten the trope started yet. Like, wow.
Yeah. Can't wait for a moment where suddenly we see the first throbbing forehead vein.
Yeah. I mean, we know, historically speaking, it is on the horizon. It's going to happen
somewhere.
Here, later. Like,
Anything else on episode 3?
Viva la Santa Claus.
just, again, amazing what we're picking out of this
Yeah.
kids' cartoon from 1966.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Is anybody still alive from the production team where we can do that? Like Steve's saying, like it was just about selling cars. Really? But we think it's this, and this. What are you high? No. We had bills to pay. We were trying to make little girl dolls of Sally. Damn it, you people are insane.
Stay off the marijuana.
Damn reefers ruined your minds.
Oh, what you need is the good old heroin that we had in our day.
There's some good laudanum. That'd be fine.
Exactly.
What? A tincture of cocaine and you'd be fine for a week.
How do you think we turned out all those drawings for Sally the Witch?
Hezekiah got us hooked on it.
Would not surprise me at all. How do you think he churned out all those drawings? Jeez.
Okay, guys, the deadline's in 15 minutes. Here's more drugs, and keep going. Thank you, sir.
All right.
So, yeah, Sally the Witch.
Yep. Sally the Witch.
Sally the Witch.